So good morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So today we will discuss three important spot cases for your final MBBS examination. This is your first case. So anybody, can you describe the lesion? Anyone please try to describe the lesion. Please try to describe. Otherwise, I will ask to describe by name. Indranil Haldar, please describe the lesion. Am I audible? Indranil, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Prosenjit Rai? Prosenjit Rai, please try to describe. Ankona Das? Ankona
Yes,
Das?
sir.
Please describe the
Yes,
lesion.
sir.
Please describe. Try to describe the lesion.
Sir, there are areas of hyperpigmented patches over the face.
Yes. Areas
Over
of
the
hyperpigmented patches over the face. What is the color of the hyperpigmented patches? Exact color?
sir, brownish black,
Yes,
brown to
it's
black.
brownish black or tan brown color. Tan brown color. Okay. So there are multiple tan brown color patches over the. What are the areas involved?
Sir, over the nose and
Over the
the no perioral area.
perioral,
Uh,
just above the upper lip, it is involved. Yes.
yes,
And look at the malar
and the
region.
cheeks.
Cheeks. Yes.
Malar.
So there are some tan brown colored patches distributed over the malar region and also over the bridge of the nose and also over the upper lip. So can you tell me what is your provisional diagnosis? This is very common in women of reproductive age group. So can you tell me the
So
diagnosis?
cloasma,
Cloasma. Okay.
cloasma.
Yes, yes. So cloasma is a misnomer actually. Actually, cloasma means greenish discoloration. So actually, it is not greenish; it is brownish. That's why the name has been changed to melasma. So it is otherwise known as mask of pregnancy. Cloasma was otherwise known as mask of pregnancy because it was very common in pregnant women. So here you can look some tan brown colored patches distributed over the malar region and bridge of the nose. So the diagnosis is this is a case of melasma. This is known as melasma. Cloasma was an older term and that was abandoned because it is a misnomer. Because cloasma means greenish discoloration. However, actually we see tan brown colored lesion or brownish discoloration. So can you tell me the common causes for your melasma?
Pregnancy.
Yes, louder please.
So pregnancy.
Pregnancy, very good. So pregnancy is a very important condition. So you have to remember that the conditions where there is increased estrogen level in our body, it can produce melasma. So pregnancy is one condition. Can you tell me any other iatrogenic situation where there may be increased estrogen in our body?
Sir, OCP use.
OCP, oral contraceptive pill, estrogen containing oral contraceptive pill. Very good. Anything else? Suppose you have encountered a male patient with melasma. So what may be the most important and common cause for that? So it is ultraviolet light. So ultraviolet light is a very important cause for both male and females. So you have to tell the according to etiology, ultraviolet light, may it be sunlight or it may be some artificial light. So ultraviolet light is important. Number 2, pregnancy. Number 3, oral contraceptive pill or other estrogen containing pill. Suppose a male patient with prostatic cancer is undergoing treatment with estrogen containing tablets. So that may also cause melasma. There may be hormone replacement therapy that may cause melasma. So any estrogen containing tablet that can cause melasma. Anything else? Any other drug do you know that can cause melasma from your pharmacological knowledge? The drug may also cause coarsening of the facial features. There may be some hirsutism. There may be gum hypertrophy along with melasma. It is written in your KD Tripathi textbook of pharmacology. A particular drug that can cause melasma along with coarsening of the facial feature, and hirsutism and gum hypertrophy. So what may be the drug? It is used for some neurological disorder, used for conversion.
Phenytoin.
Phenytoin, very good. So it is phenytoin. So phenytoin can be another important cause of melasma, particularly the epileptic patients. So to summarize, what are the causes of melasma? Number 1, it is ultraviolet light. Number 2, pregnancy. Number 3, oral contraceptive pill. Number 4, other drugs like phenytoin or other estrogen containing tablets. So these are the common reasons for melasma. Now, how will you assess melasma at the bedside? So again, you have to perform some Woods lamp examination. Woods lamp examination is very important tool for assessment of melasma. So what do you find in Woods lamp? Under Woods lamp, you may get some accentuation of the lesion. Yes. So under Woods lamp, there may be either accentuation of the pigmentation or there may be diminution of the pigmentation. If the lesion is accentuated, what does it signify? It signifies that the pigmentation is at the level of epidermis or epidermal pigmentation. However, if it is diminished under Woods lamp, what does it signify? It signifies that there may be some dermal lesion. So this may come as MCQ in your postgraduate entrance examination. So that's why you have to know. Epidermal pigmentation usually accentuates and dermal pigmentation usually attenuates. So these are the important clues. Now, for the confirmation of melasma, melasma is essentially a clinical diagnosis. However, you have to consider some other differential diagnosis in this particular case. So it may be due to some your post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation due to any other cause, any other inflammatory dermatosis that may produce post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation in this fashion. And if you look closely over the lesion, there are some butterfly distribution of this lesion. It involves the malar region, it involves the bridge of the nose. So sometimes systemic lupus erythematosus with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation may present as like this picture. So you have to rule out those things also. The other causes of post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, that is the most important differential diagnosis. So can you describe this lesion? Lokesh, can you describe? Lokesh, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Please describe. They have already described the lesion. So please describe this.
So there are patches of hyperpigmentation,
Now, what is the color?
uh, tan brown in
And
color.
patches over the cheeks here. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are some tan brown colored patches distributed over the malar region. So this signifies melasma. How do you assess? With the help of Wood's lamp? It is essentially a clinical diagnosis. So biopsy is very rarely required to rule out other causes. Sometimes there may be some iatrogenic accentuation of this lesion. Suppose you are treating this condition with high concentration of hydroquinone. That is commonly used as a depigmenting agent in the treatment of melasma. So in that setting, if it is used for a longer time, it may produce darkening of the patches. That is known as exogenous ochronosis. This is also known as exogenous ochronosis. Darkening of the patches due to long time application of hydroquinone may produce exogenous ochronosis and darkening of the lesion. Now, how do you treat this condition? Anybody? Srijanmoy, are you there? Are you
Yes,
there?
sir.
Yes. So, how can you treat this condition? So, we have repeatedly asked you for the treatment of any particular condition, you have to describe the general treatment first and then the systemic treatment. So, how do you treat this particular patient? Just try. No problem. So, in general treatment, how do you counsel the patient? So, what are the precipitating cause of melasma? Please repeat.
Sir, pregnancy.
Pregnancy. So, you
OC
cannot avoid pregnancy.
See,
You have to continue pregnancy. Okay. Then,
OCP use.
so you may counsel the patient better to take other modes of contraception. Particularly, you have to avoid the estrogen containing tablets.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then,
And then sun exposure.
so you have to ask the patient to avoid sun exposure, proper sun exposure. You have to apply some broad spectrum sunscreen.
Yes.
And you have to take some physical modes of sun protection or photo protection, just like umbrella, dark goggles, etc. So photo protection is another important part. Now coming to the particular treatment. So there are some depigmenting agents. Several depigmenting agents are there. So Ashish Godai. So can you tell me some name of some depigmenting agent? Ashish, are you there? Are you there, Ashish? Ashish Godai, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you name some depigmenting agent? We have just mentioned about one. So anybody else? Can you name some depigmenting agent? So the most common depigmenting agent used is hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is one of the most important depigmenting agent. There are several other depigmenting agents that can be used in the treatment of melasma, like your topical tretinoin, your topical glycolic acid, or azelaic acid. You can use some low potency topical steroid. So these are the common depigmenting agent. Arbutin is another important depigmenting agent. So Ashish, can you recapitulate? Ashish, can you recapitulate? What are the depigmenting agent used?
Hydroquinone, topical retinoid, topical
Yes.
steroid.
So hydroquinone, topical retinoid, topical glycolic acid, topical azelaic acid, topical low potency steroid. These are the commonly used depigmenting agents. And along with that, you have to use some broad spectrum sunscreen. That is the mainstay of treatment of melasma. And in some cases, you may use chemical peeling. There is another important cosmetic procedure that is known as chemical peeling. So glycolic acid chemical peeling you can use. You can use some modes of laser in some selective cases of melasma. So how will you classify the treatment? You have to classify the treatment according to general treatment, then specific treatment. Among specific treatment, medical treatment, we have already mentioned topical treatment of melasma. There are some systemic drug that can be used in the treatment of melasma. It can come as a MCQ in your postgraduate exam also. That is known as tranexamic acid. It can be used as an oral drug that can be used in the treatment of melasma. On the other hand, there are some other modalities, surgical modalities like laser or other modalities like chemical peeling, glycolic acid. So, Ishani Sureka, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, can you summarize the treatment?
The treatment is done in general and systematic. In
Very
general
good.
treatment, we counsel the patient if the patient is taking any contraceptive pill, to take other methods of contraception. If he or she is having extreme sun exposure, then it should be avoided. Then in systemic treatment, we give depigmenting agents, and in surgical we can surgically we can use laser, and chemical peeling can also be
Yes,
done.
chemical peeling, particularly glycolic acid peeling, can be done. Very good. So, this is the summary of melasma. Melasma is a very common problem in your day-to-day clinical practice. Now we are shifting to another very important case for your practical day-to-day life and also for your examination. So, anybody else? Sagupta, are you there? Sagupta, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, can you describe the lesion over the forehead of this young girl?
So these are multiple
Yes, go on.
pustules which are present on the forehead with some hyperpigmented small lesions.
So, look more carefully. There are some small papules are there. They actually represents closed comedon. There are some pustules, as you have rightly mentioned, and look carefully. There are some inflammatory papules as well, and there are some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, some marks of excoriation, and some hyperpigmented papule also. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in a word, this is a polymorphic lesion. Polymorphic lesion consisting of inflammatory papule, pustule, small papules, post-inflammatory and pigmented papules, some marks of excoriation, and some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So, the lesions are mostly polymorphic in nature, consisting of several primary morphology. So, look at another lesion. So, Anubrata, are you there? Anubrata Rai?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, can you describe this lesion of similar nature but of different severity?
Sir, multiple papules are there.
Louder, please. Louder, please.
Sir, multiple papules and.
You're not audible. Louder, please.
Hello, sir. Can you hear?
You are audible.
Sir, there are multiple papules, inflammatory papules.
So most of the lesions are inflammatory, na? Most of the lesions are inflammatory. Inflammatory papules are there, and some pustules are there, larger
Yes,
pustules. Okay, and some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation is there. And look carefully, there are some cystic lesion or nodular lesion. Some nodular lesion is visible. So actually, this is also a case of acne. This is also polymorphic in nature, but the severity is much more in comparison to the previous one. So in comparison to this lesion, the severity is much more in this particular case. So can you tell me the diagnosis, Arjun Rai? Arjun, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, acne vulgaris.
Acne vulgaris, very good. So this is acne. So how you clinically diagnose acne, Arjun?
Sir, it is here is multiple papules, and
So
there are
always start with the statement that there are polymorphic lesion consisting
polymorphic. There is polymorphic lesion consisting of multiple papules, and there are some pustules also.
Yes.
And
Yes.
some hyperpigmentation of some papules, and
So there may be some closed papule, there may be some open papule, it may be inflammatory papule, there may be pustule, there may be nodule, there may be scarring, there may be pigmentation. So the lesion is essentially polymorphic lesion. Now the question is, what is the pathognomonic lesion of acne? The pathognomonic lesion of acne is known as comedone. Comedone can be either a closed comedone or it can be an open comedone. So in open comedone, if you press the lesion, some blackish material will come out. So on the surface, you can say some papule with some black crater within it at the center of the lesion. So these are known as open comedone. And there are some whitish colored papule. The surface is closed. They are known as closed comedone. And there may be some nodule. And sometimes you may feel some cystic feel. There may be some tense cystic feel. But however, actually in case of acne, you may not get a true cyst, because a true cyst must have some lining epithelium, and in case of acne pseudocyst, there is no lining epithelium. So to summarize, the clinical lesions of acne is mostly polymorphic in nature. That is the most important thing. And depending on the severity, there may be some nodular lesion, or there may be some pseudocystic lesion. The lesions can be infected, multiple pustules may be there, so the severity is much more. In a milder case, you may get only the small comedones. It may be some closed comedone, there may be some open comedone, and if the severity increases, there may be multiple inflammatory papule, then there may be some pustules, and sometimes there may be pseudocystic lesion and nodular lesion. So these lesions are very severe. They are also known as severe nodular acne. Previously, it was known as nodulocystic acne. However, the newer term is these are severe nodular acne. Now, acne is essentially a clinical diagnosis. Biopsy is extremely rarely needed for the confirmation of acne, and it is a disorder of your pilosebaceous unit of the skin. So what do you mean by pilosebaceous unit? Pilosebaceous unit is a structure that is consisting of a hair follicle and its adjacent sebaceous gland. So that is known as pilosebaceous unit. And this sebaceous gland usually drains in the infundibular part of the hair follicle. So if there is some problem in the differentiation of keratinocytes, there may be obstruction of the sebaceous gland. So in one step, for the pathogenesis of acne, there must be some keratinocyte differentiation disorder that may lead to obstruction of the sebaceous duct. What happens next? Then there may be accumulation of some sebum within the sebaceous gland, increased accumulation of sebum, and by the hormone androgen that can influence to produce much more sebum by the sebaceous gland. Then there may be colonization with some bacteria, a particular bacteria which was previously known as Propionibacterium acne, and nowadays the nomenclature has been changed to Cutibacterium acne. So the recent nomenclature of this bacteria is Cutibacterium acne. So there may be colonization of the bacteria, and finally the gland may rupture, liberation of the several chemokines and chemical mediators that can be released into the adjacent area, leading to some inflammatory reaction. So this is the pathogenesis of acne. This is very important for your examination point of view and also for the choosing the treatment option. So what are the steps in the pathogenesis of acne? Number one, due to defective keratinization, there may be obstruction of the sebaceous duct. Number two, due to androgenic influence, there is increased production of sebum. Number three, there may be colonization of some bacteria. That is known as Cutibacterium acne nowadays. And number four, on rupture of this gland, some chemical mediators, including several chemokines and interleukins and some enzymes, they released into the adjacent area, producing inflammation. So this is the pathogenesis of acne. Now, how you treat the particular condition? Do you know any other treatment option? Atrei-Cor. Are you there? Are you there, Atrei? Atrei-Cor, are you there? Dhruv Banerjee, are you there? So only the connection is on. They are absent from the class. Dhruv Banerjee? Ditipriya Khan, are you there? Indranil Haldar?
Yes, sir.
So it is not fair that you are connecting yourself and you are absent from the class. This is not fair. So Indranil, what are the treatment options? Do you know about the treatment of acne? Any drug that we have read? Any name of the drug? Anybody else? Can you name some drug that has been used for the treatment of acne? Yes?
The doxycycline.
Yes? Louder please.
The doxycycline.
You are not audible. Louder please.
Sir, doxycycline.
Yes, doxycycline can be used as an antibiotic. So when do you prescribe antibiotic? When you are suspecting that there are some infection, particularly if there are large number of pustules are there, some nodular lesion or pseudocystic lesion with infection. In that particular case, when the lesions are much more inflammatory in nature, in that case you can use doxycycline. Okay. So doxycycline is a systemic drug, so you can classify it as topical drug and systemic drug. So regarding systemic drug, you have mentioned about doxycycline. Okay. Anything else?
Sir, salicylic acid.
Benzoyl peroxide.
Yes, Indranil?
Sir, salicylic acid.
Salicylic acid is usually not preferred drug for the treatment of acne. Any other commoner drug?
Sir, benzoyl peroxide.
Benzoyl peroxide, very good. So this is a very important drug, benzoyl peroxide. So this is a topical drug. It is used as 2.5% benzoyl peroxide gel. So what is the purpose of using benzoyl peroxide? Benzoyl peroxide is a very good anti-inflammatory and antibiotic drug. So whenever you get some inflammatory papule or some small pustules, you should prefer benzoyl peroxide. And the beauty of the drug is that if you use it with another antibiotic, it prevents the development of resistance of that of the other antibiotic. So resistance to Cutibacterium acne usually doesn't develop against benzoyl peroxide, and it prevents development of drug resistance in the setting of acne. So whenever you have to use some antibiotic, it is better to use with benzoyl peroxide. Yes. So we have discussed about doxycycline. We have discussed about benzoyl peroxide. Anything else? Any other commoner drug, very important drug for the acne?
The clindamycin.
Topical retinoid.
Clindamycin is used
So
particularly in the setting of
isotretinoids.
infection. Okay. Yes.
The
Anything else?
topical retinoids like adapalene and all trans retinoic
Very
acid.
important drug. Very important drug. So what are the topical retinoids that are used in the treatment of acne? So one of them is, most important is your tretinoin and adapalene. So these are the age-old drugs that are used in the treatment of acne. Adapalene and tretinoin. These are used. So these are particularly helpful when there are multiple comedonal lesions. May it be closed comedone, may it be open comedone, or there are some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. In the setting of small scars, small shallow scars are there, it can help also remodeling of the collagen, and thus it may reduce the chance of scarring and hyperpigmentation. So these are all important. Any other drug? So there is another important drug that is known as azelaic acid. It may reduce the pigmentation also, and it is particularly helpful for milder acne. So apart from reduction of acne, it also helps to reduce the acne-induced hyperpigmentation, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So that is also important. Any other option? Systemic drug. Suppose there are multiple nodular lesions, not amenable to your topical treatment. It is not controlled with your systemic antibiotic like doxycycline or your azithromycin. You have tried with antibiotics, but it is not responding. There are multiple nodular lesions. So what is the drug of choice in that particular case? That is also a very important MCQ. Isotretinoin. So systemic isotretinoin is very important drug for that particular case. So can you tell me what are the precautions that you should take before prescribing systemic isotretinoin? And this is also another important MCQ question in your MD entrance. And this is very important for your day-to-day clinical practice to avoid litigation. So what is the most important concern regarding use of isotretinoin?
Depression and mood disturbances.
No. What is the most important point in relation to some litigation, some legal aspect?
The teratogenicity.
Yes, teratogenicity. Very good. So teratogenicity is, you have to remember teratogenicity, very important. It is very important in the setting of isotretinoin because it is a very important teratogenic drug. So you should not give to a patient with childbearing potential. It is better to avoid isotretinoin in a patient, female patient with your childbearing potential. And if it is used, particularly in case of male, it is better to use barrier method of contraception for that particular type to avoid litigation. And after stopping of isotretinoin, at least 3 months should be waited for contemplating pregnancy. So isotretinoin is very important drug, and it is probably the drug of choice for the treatment of severe nodular acne. So it is the drug of choice for severe nodular acne. That is an important MCQ also. So this is how you can treat acne. So treatment will depend on the severity of the lesion. If it is only milder lesion, only comedones are there, so there is defective keratinization. So in that case, tretinoin is the preferred drug, either in the form of adapalene or topical tretinoin. If there are multiple inflammatory papules, pustules, it is better to use benzoyl peroxide with or without your topical clindamycin. If there are several pustular lesions and larger lesion, so in that case you can use initially with doxycycline along with benzoyl peroxide. If there are multiple lesions that is not controlled with doxycycline and nodular lesion, severe nodular lesion, so in that setting you should use isotretinoin. But you have to remember that it is, you should never combine isotretinoin with doxycycline. It may produce some pseudotumor cerebri like condition, and that is also a very important side effect of the combination of the drug. Okay. So any question regarding acne and melasma also?
Sir, acne bacteria নাম তার একবার বলবেন?
QT bacterium acne. This is the recent nomenclature, QT bacterium acne. which was previously known as Propionibacterium acne. Previously it was known as Propionibacterium acne, and nowadays it is known as Cutibacterium acne.
Okay, sir.
Sir, is there any general treatment of acne?
Yes, for any condition you have to use some general modalities of treatment. So how to counsel the patient and how you evaluate the patient, that is also very important. Suppose you have a teenage girl with multiple acne lesion over the face, that is common. And suppose a 38-year-old female came to you in your OPD with multiple severe acne lesion over his face. So what is the difference between these two patients? So in the second patient, that elderly lady, you have to always rule out some hormonal problems, particularly polycystic ovary. And if the acne lesions are combined with hirsutism, that is increased hair growth over the face, you have to always rule out polycystic ovary and other causes of hyperandrogenism, particularly in an obese female. So that part you have to evaluate the hormonal background of acne. So you have to advise that accordingly. If the patient is obese, you have to ask the patient to reduce her weight or his weight, and regular free hand exercise, and don't wash the area very frequently with harsh soap. That is also very important. So that may actually exacerbate the condition. So you have to take care of that. You have to ask the patient to avoid picking. That may produce your post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and scarring on. So that part you should avoid. So these are a few tips that should be used in the general treatment of the patient. Then you come to the specific treatment. In specific treatment, again, topical treatment, systemic treatment. We have already discussed about the topical modalities of treatment, systemic treatment. Then comes the surgical modalities of treatment. When it is important, suppose there are some nodular lesions that are refractory to your medical treatment, then you can use interlesional corticosteroid therapy for a particular nodule or pseudocystic lesion. Otherwise, for some cystic lesion, you may have to drain the lesion surgically, or sometimes for the treatment of acne scarring, you may have to use laser or chemical peeling. So thus you have to classify your treatment, general treatment, and then specific treatment again medical treatment again be subdivided into topical treatment and your systemic treatment. Then comes surgical treatment, then other modalities of treatment like peeling and laser. So this is in short about the treatment of acne. Now this is the lesion that is found over the nape of the neck of a young man. So can you describe the lesion? Then we will discuss. Mopali Saha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please describe. Just describe what you are seeing.
So this is hyperkeratotic thickened skin. with
Yes, so number
blackish
one, it is
discoloration.
thickened. Look at the color of the lesion. What is the
So
color?
blackish in color.
Blackish. So hyperpigmentation is there, thickening of the skin is there. Anything else? Anything unique to the skin?
Keratinization.
So can we appreciate the skin markings?
Yes, sir.
So it is accentuated. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are three components in this particular picture. One is hyperpigmentation of the lesion. Number two, thickening of the lesion. And number three, there is accentuation of the normal skin markings. Can you repeat, Mopali?
So there is hyperpigmentation of the skin, blackish discoloration, and accentuation of the skin markings.
Accentuation of the skin markings. So this is a triad of lichenification. This is collectively known as lichenification. So lichenification is a triad of thickening of the skin, hyperpigmentation, and accentuation of the normal skin markings. So this is a triad. Now, look at this particular patient. Anybody else? Rishita Acharya. Are you there, Rishita?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you describe this lesion? More or less similar picture.
So it is. It has a reddish erythema with pink, hyperkeratinized with some bleeding spots.
Yes, some excoriated spot. Some excoriated spot. So what does it signify? The marks of excoriation. What does it signify? Use your common sense. When you get the marks of excoriation.
So when the skin is dry.
Not only dry, anything else. Due to some maneuver, it has been produced. Why there is excoriation? This is a very common thing. When do you excoriate your skin? When there
Abrasions.
When there is itching.
Pruritus.
You get my point. If the lesion is pruritic or intense itching is there will be marks of excoriation due to repeated scratching. So, can you describe what you mean by pruritus, Rishita? What do you mean by pruritus?
Itching. Itchy lesion.
Itchy lesion. So, pruritus, what is the medical definition? So, it is a poorly adaptive sensation which elicits the desire to scratch. So, as a result of scratching, you may get excoriation. Okay. So, otherwise, you can appreciate there is thickening of the skin. Yes or no? There is thickening of the skin of this particular patient. And
yes, sir.
There is accentuation of the skin markings. Can you appreciate the accentuation of the skin markings? So there is thickening of the skin. Some scaling is there, adherent scaling, and marks of excoriation along with accentuation of the skin markings. And this actually represents a chronic itchy condition, and most commonly it is due to chronic eczema. Most commonly, this is due to chronic eczema. And lichenification, this lichenification is the hallmark of chronic eczema. So, here also, there is a slightly scaly excoriated plaque, skin is thickened, and there is accentuation of the skin markings on an erythematous background. So, this is also a case of lichen simplex. There is lichenification. And this particular condition is known as lichen simplex chronicus. So this is actually lichen simplex chronicus. And one of the important morphological changes is lichenification. So what do you mean by eczema? Preeti, are you there? Preeti Arya, are you there? Nilarko? Are you there, Nilarko?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what do you mean by eczema? Have you any idea? So, eczema is an inflammatory condition. It's an inflammatory condition of the skin. The literal meaning is to boil forth. To boil forth. So it's a inflammatory condition involving the epidermis and dermis. Okay. So can you tell me what are the types of eczema? How can you classify eczema?
Sir, exogenous, endogenous.
Very good. So it may be exogenous or endogenous. Yes. Then example.
The endogenous can be classified into atopic and seborrheic. And
so
exogenous
it classified. There are several reasons of endogenous eczema, and the examples are atopic dermatitis, examples are seborrheic dermatitis, it can be due to pompholyx. So there are several examples of endogenous eczema. Okay. So one part is endogenous. What are the exogenous eczema? There are two types of exogenous eczema. What are the types? So exogenous eczema can be due to irritant contact dermatitis, or it may be due to allergic contact dermatitis. So according to etiology, eczema can be divided into exogenous and endogenous. Exogenous is again subdivided into irritant contact dermatitis and allergic contact dermatitis. So can you give some example of common irritant contact dermatitis? Most common thing commonly found in case of housewives.
The detergents.
Detergent. So detergent induced cumulative irritant contact dermatitis of the hands. So detergent induced cumulative irritant contact dermatitis of the hands. That is the most common example. And can you give some example in of allergic contact dermatitis?
Sir, cosmetic dermatitis.
Cosmetic, it may be due to cosmetic, it may be due to hair dye. Hair dye is a very often important culprit of allergic contact dermatitis. You may get some oozing lesion over the scalp and face after application of hair dye. And there may be swelling of the eyes as well. So these are the example of your exogenous and endogenous eczema. Now you can classify eczema depending on its stage. It can be acute, it can be chronic, or it can be subacute. So what do you think? What's about this picture? Is it acute or chronic or subacute? So can you?
This is acute.
This is louder,
Acute,
please.
sir.
No, this is not acute. So I have already mentioned you that lichenification. There is lichenification. So when do you get thickening of the skin? If there is history of chronic itching, that may produce thickening of the skin. So whenever you get some lichenified skin, it usually represents a chronic condition. So this is due to chronic eczema. And what are the hallmarks of acute eczema? The hallmarks of acute eczema are vesiculation and oozing. Vesiculation and oozing, they are the hallmarks of acute eczema. So whenever you get some oozy lesion, there is oozing of fluid from the lesion, there may be presence of some vesicles are there, so it signifies your acute eczema. And whenever you get lichenification, thickening of the skin, there are hyperpigmentation and accentuation of the skin markings, that usually signifies your chronic condition, that is chronic eczema. And subacute is in between condition. The lesions is mostly a scaly condition. There may be some scalings are there. And excoriation is a feature of your pruritus or itching. So how do you confirm eczema? It is often a clinical diagnosis, but it may be confirmed by biopsy. In biopsy, you may get some spongiotic histopathological picture. You have to know the term spongiosis. This is also a very important MCQ for your MD entrance examination. So spongiosis, what do you mean by spongiosis? In the stratum spinosum, there may be some intercellular edema. There may be some intercellular edema in the stratum spongiosum. So that is known as spongiosis. In between the stratum corneocyte, your keratinocyte, there may be accumulation of some fluid in between the keratinocytes, separating the keratinocytes from one another. There are some desmosomal connections of keratinocytes that binds the keratinocytes together, and if there is accumulation of fluid in between the cells, there may be separation of this connection. So this is known as spongiosis. So in all cases of eczema, you may get some spongiotic pattern. You may get some spongiotic pattern in all cases of eczematous condition. So in case of acute eczema, as there is clinically evident by some vesicles and oozing, you may get much more spongiosis, and in chronic condition, you may get relatively less amount of spongiosis. So thus, you have to assess a patient with eczema. So what is the mainstay of treatment of eczema? What is the mainstay of treatment? It is an inflammatory condition. So apart from general treatment, how will you advise about the general treatment of this particular patient? The condition is very scaly and dry, so you have to use some emollient like your petroleum jelly or some urea containing emollient, which may act also as a keratolytic agent for reduction of the thickness of this skin. So emollient is a very important adjunct, and due to for reduction of pruritus, you may have to use some antihistamines, some antihistamine drugs. You have to ask the patient to avoid rubbing or scratching because it may accentuate your thickening of the skin. It may aggravate the condition, and due to repeated scratching, there may be some secondary bacterial infection as well. So regarding the specific treatment of eczema, the most commonly used drug is for localized lesion is topical steroid, and for generalized lesion, systemic steroid. And for severe condition, you may have to use some steroid sparing agent. Some immune suppressive drugs may also be used. For example, your cyclosporin and azathioprine, they can also be used in very severe case as steroid sparing agent. Because long-term use of systemic steroid may produce severe adverse drug reaction. So, is there any question regarding eczema? So, another important MCQ may be there for your MD entrance examination. What is the investigation of choice for your allergic contact dermatitis? Can you tell me the name of the investigation for your allergic contact dermatitis? So this is known as patch test, allergic patch test or patch test. Okay, is there any question regarding all these cases? Any questions regarding
Sir,
eczema?
is there any role of hello, sir?
You are audible.
Sir, is there any role of phototherapy in the treatment of acne, inflammatory acne?
No, usually there is no role of phototherapy in the treatment of acne, but phototherapy may have some role in the treatment of eczema.
Okay.
But some other
Sir,
modes
what
of
is
light, yes, what is?
no, sir, please continue.
There may be some other modes of lights can be used in the treatment of some forms of acne that is not related to your phototherapy like UVA, UVB or others. Yes, what are you asking?
Sir, what is steatotic eczema?
Steatotic eczema, this is actually otherwise known as gerotic eczema. So what do you mean by gerotic eczema? When gerosis or dryness of the skin is the principal cause of eczema. It is otherwise known as eczema crackle. Eczema crackle means fissured. So the area is very gerotic, dry and fissured. So that is the typical hallmarks of your steatotic eczema. This is nothing but gerosis induced eczema or dryness induced eczema. This is particularly found in the winter season in the elderly patient.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Okay, that's all for today. Is there any other question? Okay, that's all.